We are excited to have Mohan Krishna, and we wanted to interview Mohan after seeing his educational YouTube training series. And today we are discussing from manual administrators to mission controllers how to manage the digital nervous system. So, Mohan, please tell us about yourself, your background, how you got into the middleware world, and what led you to start sharing your knowledge with others on YouTube.
Hi, Mike. I'm really glad to be here with you. My name is Mohan, and in the industry, I'm having almost 14 years of experience where I handled really critical solutions for many enterprises. And I have seen the worlds like the insurance world, the retail world, banking world, financial world, and how they're operating their messaging streams, what are the loopholes there. So these are the areas where I have worked in my experience. And in addition, I believe one statement from Swami Vivekananda, like if you share money it will decrease, but if you share your knowledge it will increase. And I strongly believe in that, and that's where the foundation of my channel also. Yeah, that's all something from my side.
I love it. It's one of the best gifts in the world to share knowledge. Um, as far as the unified command problem, I'd say that most enterprise MQ admins today aren't just managing MQ. They're jumping between MQ Explorer, consoles, cloud monitoring dashboards, and CLI sessions. Just get, a complete picture of what's happening. So in your experience, what does that tool fragmentation actually cause in organization, not just in time, but in risk? And really, what does a truly unified operational approach look like in practice?
Well, that's a great question. I think you are firing me with your first question, right? And in my opinion, right, this fragmentation is really very underestimated unique problem for every organization. And whenever a critical issue has been triggered, so these days MQ admins or Kafka admins, they are shifting from one dashboard to another dashboard to trace out the entire route of the data, because if the data is lost it's ultimately business loss, right? And definitely uh, there should be an improvement. Like when the issue happen, it should not state, yes, my tool is good, my platform is good, my infra is good. So everyone looks in their own perspective, but there should be some place where dots should be connected. So to find out the entire trace where something went wrong. I think I can come up with an example which I faced in my early of career. So I was working for a paper mill company which is based off a different country, which manufacture the paper and supply the bio for energy to the entire country. I started my career with that company as a middleware administrator, especially with MQ, right? I think I was in shift. I think it was early morning, and all of a sudden there was a critical P1 incident hit my door. And the incident, it says like there is a traffic jam in the paper factory. Middleware team, please come into picture. That's all. No technical details. And I was in a bit confusion state. I was sitting thousands of miles away from the factory. How can I clear the traffic there? Right? So there is some missing dot. And command center accepted as a critical incident, and CIOs are in the call, SVPs are in the call, all the line of business which are impacted, everyone is in the call. And I had no clue how to deal with that. Then immediately I picked my phone, I called to my technical lead at that time. He was a very nice guy. And he simply told me, open ServiceNow tool. There is a configuration item. Go to the application service, then match that with the inventory. Go to the queue manager, find out the depth, and there I found the issue. It was some configuration disabled instead of enabled. So what happened? That queue is supplying an information to the mission where that will load the paper, bundle of paper to the truck, and then truck should leave. That's the entire business flow. So here in MQ, data got stuck, mission stuck, truck stuck, and there is a jam, traffic jam, right? This was like a really eye opener. So the thing is, when you are in a position to connect the dots instead of sticking to one tool, right? That's where you can solve the business problem. So that's what It was my early learning with the my first P1.
Thrown to the fire early that day, huh? Yeah, so that having that unified view, it would be critical. It would have helped then. In your YouTube videos, and you have so much content online, you've covered a lot about distributed queuing, it quite extensively actually. But the reality for a lot of organizations today is that a single transaction might start with IBM MQ. It'll pass through a Kafka stream and terminate in an anonymous queue. How critical is it for modern admins to be able to trace that single message across every hop, regardless of vendor protocol? Um, and how far away are most organizations from actually achieving that?
Well, that's another fantastic question that Hello to answer. And in my opinion, actually, organizations are in a way that are adopting this kind of transformation. Like in earlier days, let's say around 10 years ago, the organizations are in a platform centric model. Just they used to work like that. But now organizations are adapting in a such a way that transaction centric operations, so that if one transaction stuck in one hub, right? The particular admin who is working in that hub, he should have some visibility to let them to look at the next spot. Yes, this is where the problem is. So that the entire transaction, the entire transition between the engineers, there would be a flow to find out the issue. For example, let's say there is a transaction started from a source database. Now, let's say that came to MQ, that came to Kafka, and that came to some sync connector. Again, that went to some sync database where the consumer has to connect. The publisher says, hey, I send the data, but the consumer says, no, I have not received the data. So here, ENQ team says, my queues are good. Kafka team says, my platform is good. Infra team says, my infrastructure is good. So now, where is the problem? And the big gap, in my opinion, I see is the Kafka world can't see the NQ world, NQ world can't see the infra world. So there is a big gap among the engineers, so that they can't come to one particular strike line to find out the issue. When this visibility is there with certain kind of protocols, then people can suggest this can go wrong, this can go wrong, this is where the issue is, so that the gap can be fulfilled. But I am seeing the organizations are really adapting this approach, and this can give the engineers end-to-end visibility, especially to decrease the SLA in resolving a particular critical issue that will help companies to prevent of losing their revenues.
Makes a lot of sense to me. Um, I'd like to move on though, because most monitoring tools in MQ environments are essentially smoke alarms. Um, they tell you when something's wrong, but they don't tell you, or they don't really let you do anything about it, right? How much does this change the operational dynamic when an admin can not only see the stuck message, but act on it directly, moving in it, editing headers, clearing a queue without having to log into a secure terminal? Is that a capability most organizations are ready for culturally?
Well, I think the answer would be yes. The problem is, when I started my career, right, I was having just some kind of read-only access on particular development environment, but not a full-fledged access on the production operations. It's because I was very new to the industry, and handling production system for a junior resource. Yes, definitely some kind of risk elements to the leadership, right? So it's an engineer responsibility. He has to give a confidence to the leadership. If you give me this end to end in my hand, I can handle it in a positive way where there would be no business loss. So engineer has to prove from by giving that confidence to the leadership, and leadership has to trust their engineers also. Yes, if we can give this instance to this person, this can go smooth. So the thing is that whatever the privileged access that's been granted, it should not be misused by the engineers. If it's find out that it's a misused and no protocol, no standard, no rule has been followed, definitely there would be a red flag which can cause a question to the business and a question to the leadership, right? So there should be a governance approach. Like once an engineer started freshly on one particular instance, he should start with the low environment. Once he got the confidence, then he should be in a position to adapting the entire portfolio, including production. The reason is, if you are capable of solving the issue, but if your hands are blindfolded with access issues, there would be again a delay in terms of resolving the issues, right? So there should be a proper governance model implemented in every team and every organization. This thing should be with this particular team, and he should have this kind of access so that issue can be prevented. And again, it's engineer's responsibility that it has to go in a positive way. If that goes well, yes, so issues can be prevented in a proactive way.
Yeah, that, I mean, I couldn't agree more, Ron. Um, if only things were more that practical. Um,
Yes, correct. It's a more like a practical problem, right? So the leadership has to trust the engineer, and the engineer has to give that positive impact, because every organization runs on the engineer's positive impact, how they are reacting. Otherwise, especially for mission critical things, right? It has to go in that way.
I love that you brought up mystery critical because I think that one of the most dangerous scenarios in middleware operations is when every infrastructure metric looks healthy, right? Channels are up, brokers are running, but that critical B2B transaction is silently stalled. Um, how do you help administrators make that, the mental shift from monitoring infrastructure uptime to protecting business outcomes and the SLA performances behind them? And what does that conversation look like with leadership?
Well, I think that's a great question. See, in my opinion, the thing is, whenever some critical issue happen, first of all, the leadership will not ask you, is the platform is up, is the infra is up, is my cloud service provider giving good service? No, they do not look in that way. The leadership always think, is my business up? Is there a revenue loss? Is my customers are crying about the issue? That's what the leadership is going to look, right? And all these are directly and indirectly linked with all your platform and infra. The thing is, when you are adapting any kind of middleware platform, right? Especially that can be MQ or that can be enterprise Kafka, whatever it is. First of all, these kind of vendor products, right? They come with certain protocols, like this much infra is needed. Like I need this much CPU, I need this much RAM, I need this much of computing resources, this much of networking, this much of storage, this much of power. So they will give certain protocols, and when we are adapting that particular tool, right, that tool has to fit. I mean, that infra has to be ready. The organization should be in a position to provide that infra. Then these kind of critical issues and the conflict between the tool, I mean, between the platform and then the infra can be reduced, right? If organization infra says, no, we are not, we can't provide that kind of resources, then instead of adapting that particular tool for your use case, we have to go, what is the tool that can adapt for the infrastructure? So when these baselines, before we sign up, if when with these baselines are strictly followed, then there would not be infra gain and business red. So infra green, business red will go in a situation where there is a conflict between your platform and then the infra you're choosing. If that can be avoided, these issues would not occur, in my opinion.
Makes sense. I think there's a real conversation happening right now about AI-driven automation and middleware operations, as AI is bleeding into every conversation. But natural language queries, automated remediation, excuse me, intelligent pattern detection. Do you believe that level of AI existence will eventually replace the need for junior admins to master those fundamentals, MQSC commands, channel configuration, DLQ management, or will simply that, will deep platform knowledge always be the prerequisite for anyone operating these environments today?
Well, that's a very common question where every organization is now adopting, right? But if you take my personal opinion, okay, let me switch the context in this way. Before I start about discussing about AI, right? Let me take one particular situation. Let's assume there are two countries where, let's say some war is going on. Let's say country one bombed against country two, and let's assume country two defensive system has taken their AI help. Hey, we want to take the retaliation against country one. How do I do that? So most cases, the AI will suggest you can fire an atom bomb against country one so that your retaliation can be done. That's what AI can do. But it's again human brains that they have to think about the further consequences. Let's say if you fire an atom bomb, so what would be the human race in that country for next 10 years, 20 years, or 50 years? And if the atom bomb fired due to some mistake, it has fired in your own country, what would be the impact? So it's again human brain that it has to think about all the consequences, because AI can give you a straight answer for your question, but it can't think about the consequences, right? So when we apply the same concept in the NQ platform or any Kafka platform, right? AI will tell you, AI can give you the direction. You go in this way so that the problem can be sorted out. But it's again, humans' brain has to think, is this the right direction as per my organization standard? Based on that, the NQ admin or the platform admin, he has to take the decision, right? The reason is if you know the problem where it exactly lies, it's almost 90% solved. You have to go and fix. But whether you have to go or not, that it has to be decided by humans only, right? So the thing is, in my opinion, AI cannot replace the engineers, but it can amplify the engineer's capability to figure out the issue in a quicker manner for a faster resolution. That's all.
Yeah, and they just having the human element involved, right, is, it's kind of necessary. Plus with the conscience. So, uh, when a production outage hits, war rooms start to spin up. What is the single biggest time waster you see over and over again? And if you could eliminate just one part of that root cause investigation process, what would it be and why?
Okay. Again, another common issue that daily happens in everyone's organization, right? So the thing is, in my opinion, let's say one critical issue happened. First of all, give the justice. I mean, whatever the things that are there, you first give the justice, make the business up so that your leadership will be happy. I believe justice delayed is justice denied, right? So whatever the struggles you have with the other team, just join with them, find out the solution, give the justification so that your leadership will be happy and command center will be happy. Now later you start the investigation where exactly went wrong, right? And let's say if you ask me what is that one point that we can eliminate, right? I think I already answered. Before you choose the tool, first of all, make sure is that tool fit for your infra, or is that infra is a fit for your tool, right? And second thing is when something wrong, each and every platform component is highly dependent on the infrastructure, right? Whether the tool is running in the on-premise environment or it's a in Kubernetes environment or some cloud platform. So that base underlying infrastructure is very, very crucial, right? So when the infrastructure team is giving you the suggestions, you follow these rules and regulations while deploying your tool. Make sure you apply that and follow all the rules and protocols so that you will not be questioned back during the real outages. And when this has been documented in a proper way, you can have the solid evidence. And yes, this is the instructions I have followed, but something wrong, so that you can make a corrective action in the in the next attempt. I mean, it's not going to happen in one day, because on day one you can start with all your possible solutions, but on day two you can notice an incident where you have no idea. So it's like a continuous improvement from day one to day two, day three, something like that. And when you are adapting that in a positive way, these issues can be eliminated.
Gotta love day two operations. Hindsight is always 2020, but I think that that first point is so true. It's a two-way street. The tool must match the infra, and the infra must match the tool, right? It has to be a well a good fit, right? Um, I have a question though on de-risking, modernizing. A lot of organizations are sitting on MQ mainframe cores. They know they need to modernize, but they're paralyzed by the fear of a visibility blackout during that migration. So, what's your advice for managing legacy and cloud native brokers side by side during a transition? And what separates the organizations that modernize successfully, excuse me, from the ones that just simply stall out?
Well, in my opinion, the most successful organization is not that directly eliminating the outdated one and keeping the latest ones.
Mm,
But the most successful organization, in my opinion, is now to have the existing applications which are running on legacy platforms, and then giving the direction to the modernization. For example, let's say in a platform, I am using a security protocol, and let's say tomorrow that's been outdated. And in my organization, let's say there are thousands of applications or millions of applications within the protocol. So on day one itself, I can't completely shut down the outdated security protocol. It's high risk, right?
mhm.
The thing is, it has to run with the legacy system, and then you start planning, building the latest security protocol. Once that's been successfully deployed into a platform, then you have to coordinate with your all application teams. Hey, application team one, use the security protocol. Application two, use this. One success, application three. So it has to go in a sequential way. And once it is completed, I mean, once all the applications are migrated to the new security systems, right? Then you can shut down your old system by giving 1 quarter buffer.
Mm.
And if you do not notice any issues, right, then you can put a plan to decommission it completely by putting another quarter buffer. So that in this buffer, if some application is complaining, new security protocol is not working for me, so you can immediately revert back to the old security protocol, so that there would be no outage when you are doing the transition between the legacy system and the new systems. When organization follow this approach, right, I think that can be more successful in terms of without any loss in their business.
I completely agree. I completely agree. I think that there is a growing push towards giving app developers more visibility and self-service access to their own middleware routes rather than routing every troubleshooting request through a central admin team. But what are your thoughts on that shift? Where does it genuinely improve speed or even accountability? And where does that introduce risk if it's not done carefully?
Well, See, I think again I will take one of my personal experience in
These
this.
are my favorite. Please share.
So, when around, I think 10, 12 years back, almost a decade back, right? The platform means they extensively work on the platform where there is no visibility to the developers area. And the developers, they are extensively they working on their own development area where they did not have the visibility on the platform side. So here the major gap is if a developer who is generating the business data and who is publishing the data into messaging platform, right? If they want to see their message, or if they want to see their message retention time period, or if they want to see any headers of their message, every time the developers they have to interact with the platform admin, they have to open a ticket to them. Hey, this is my so and so topic. This is so and so queue. Can you tell me these details? So developer has to sit on his own SLA basis. He has to give the data. So there is definitely a delay, right? Instead, if we give some kind of read-only access to the developers on their topics, where they can browse the information, they can see the configuration of their data. If such kind of things are there, then this communication between the developer and the platform admin will be decreased. And every time the solution, I mean, when a developer is developing the solution, right, his time will be much saved. He no need to wait with the patience for the admin input, right? So, but this has to be followed with the proper governance, proper self-service. Like the developer for the platform, he can see the topics, he can see the configurations, he can read the message, he can browse the data, but he should not delete the data. He should not delete the configuration. So such kind of protocols must be in place. Then yes, if we deliver that with a proper protocols with the kind of needed access, right? Then this gap can be easily fulfilled, and that is much needed in this modernization world.
Much needed. Mohan, some of the most damaging outages in middleware environments aren't caused by, hardware failures or traffic spikes. They're usually caused by an undocumented manual change that no one can trace after the fact. How important is configuration governance and an audit trail discipline in preventing what I would like to call ghost outages? Is it something that the industry takes seriously enough?
So, in my opinion, that has to be taken very seriously because ghost outages are quite common, when this Git concept was not there. So,
Right.
the thing is, let's say if someone is doing a configuration change, let's suppose there is no proper documentation, there is no reviewer, there is no approval. Let's assume just one dot, which is not understandable by your platform. That can lead your entire platform goes down. And in order to trace that out, you have to sit hours and days
Mhm.
by stopping all your personal life and all of the other stuff, right? Because business has to come up. But if you have the proper documentation, what should it? And when you can trace out the document, that is easy as a reference that, okay, this is the mistake that's been committed. Let's eliminate this mistake so that the system cannot. So that's where this Git is helping these days in many organization. When this Git came, each and every code is going to store in your repository. And once you push your code to Git, right? And someone will approve, someone will review, and it is going to cross certain stages like SIT, UAT,
Mhm.
pre-prod, and production before it went to the business. So that if some problem really happen, you can easily prevent before it go to live. So documentation process, definitely that should be there. But trust me, that's not an easy process, but it's not a complex process. It's a lengthy process where you have to sit patiently to prevent the outages. So
Right.
instead of wasting the time in the outages, you make the changes now so that your life would be very peaceful. That's what my take on that.
Got to get on Git. So, as MQ administrators move into streaming environments, they run into what some people call the Kafka tax. Cloud egress cause zombie topics, runaway partition growth. There's an argument that MQ admins, with their disciplined history around message persistence and lifecycle management, are actually better equipped to manage middleware FinOps than teams can, who came up through the Kafka native world. Do you buy that argument?
Well, I think I buy that argument. And the reason is, see, this MQ, this entire messaging world has started with IBM MQ. So IBM is the first company who given a solution for the messaging communication, right? And MQ designed in such a way that there is no retention policy in MQ. But if a consumer consumed, then message will be deleted. If you compare to Kafka, which is the most emerging and latest streaming platform, MQ Kafka both target is same. They have to have communication. They have to establish the communication, right? But MQ works on a different protocol and Kafka works on a different protocol. But their ultimate goal is same, right? So the person who already worked on MQ, right? He his thought process would be, if the queue is necessary, then only he will create. If it is not needed, immediately it will be decommissioned. But a Kafka, you can create a number of topics on fly. Let's say if the topic is not needed, you can't have a proper trace. This is for what, whether I should keep it or whether I should decommission it. There is no such kind of thought process for Kafka. Who started working directly on Kafka. But the person who is shifting from MQ to Kafka, before he makes the infra changes, right? He is going to think, is this needed? And what would be the message size that is going to publish? What data that is going to come? To whom it is going? These kind of thought process would be there so that the infra would be much stronger and there would be hassle-free operations in Kafka. So that's my opinion on it.
I completely agree. It makes sense. Thinking about your YouTube channel and all the knowledge you've shared and the advice you've shared, I'd love to as we start to wrap this podcast up, if you can go back and give one piece of advice to an organization at the very beginning of their middleware modernization journey, before they've signed any contracts or made any architectural decisions, what would that be?
Well, let's say if I am the CEO of the company and before I adapt any tool, right? First, what I do is, as I already said in one of the previous questions, when you are adapting any tool, that can be messaging platform, that can be a Power BI, or that can be whatever it is. First of all, you check your organization resources. Is the tool is going to fit my company, and my company can provide the proper infra for that particular tool. And let's say uh, you are having your VM team is saying, no, we can't provide, and your cloud service team is saying, no, we can't provide, then my session would be that tool must have cloud native feature with the vendor, right? Like you no need to worry about the infra. Let's say Confluent Cloud, let's say IBM Cloud, uh, let's say Kubernetes in cloud, right? So you adopt that so that you no need to worry about infra, so that your business uh, can run once you adapt it. Because once you take the tool, there is no way you have to move on by solving the challenges. Instead, first you take the proper decision how to run this tool in an efficient way, and then use that tool for your business. That's my session.
Makes sense to me, Mohan. Does it fit, right? Does the tool match the infra? Did it match the tool? And then if I have to make a rhyme out of it, I'm gonna think about the Git. Does it fit? Git on Git. Document on Git. Does it fit? But I think that if we're looking ahead, right? 5 years, call it. Do you think IBMQ and open source messaging platforms ultimately converge? Do they coexist, or does one eventually win over the rest? And what does that mean for engineers who are building careers on those platforms today?
Well, in my opinion, there is no reading of any tool in this modernization world.
They're all needed.
The reason, yeah, right. So the reason is, when I started my career as a middleware engineer around 14 years ago,
Mhm.
right? And I started listening from my seniors that MQ can decommission soon. But still, at this moment, right, MQ is one of the highly important tool for most of the critical and financial organization. Let's say JP Morgan and other investment companies extensively using IBM MQ, because IBM MQ has been designed in such a way that it has to go in a batch way, in a proper protocol with the vendor supported thing. Because if your tool is not a vendor supported, then organization might think, what is the risk if something goes wrong? Right? So if you took in the perspective, definitely coexistence would be there. I think there is no some tool can win, some tool can lose, because every tool having their own advantages, also their own limitations, depending on the business to business. So if you really adopt your business, and if you are in a position to understand your business process, then tools can coexist forever.
There's room for all then, and there has to be pockets of everything. It's why I think I can see why, what environments look like today. It's really a modern environment, includes pieces of everything. Um, but I think I'd love to end today's session with you telling us more about your YouTube channel. What you cover, who it's for, where people can find you. And I'd hope that we come out of this with a couple new subscribers to you every week. Anybody that listens should go and check out Mohan's podcast and YouTube channels. He extensively covers these topics in depth. But please, Mohan, tell us what you cover, who it's for, and where people can find you.
Well, that's a lovely question to answer. Well, my intention is very simple. My channel starts with the name Messaging Tech World. Mess is a very, very critical word. And in this modernization, without data, no one can do the business, right? And when you have certain information that can useful to others, fine, let's share it with us. That's what my motto of creating my channel, and that's what my inspiration for making the MQ videos, right? And all MQ related concepts are there. Now I am working in the background to have MQ with agentic AI. I am doing a foundation work for that. Maybe shortly, 6 months down the line, I will be uploading them. And it can be useful for most of the engineers who want to understand about the criticality of the data, and who want to start the journey in the messaging world. And I already met a few of the subscribers unintentionally, who come to me, hey, I saw your videos and I got a job in this reputed companies. It was giving me more proudness and more inspiration. Let's work very hard to make the channel more smart. That's my baseline for
Absolutely.
the channel.
And please keep the content coming. I'm not an engineer, but I enjoy it myself. I know that some of my friends and colleagues have enjoyed it and even gotten jobs with your support and your help. So couldn't thank you enough, Mohan. I'll be looking forward to every new episode that you put on the YouTube channel. But can you just let the see what is the YouTube channel called for our listeners?
It's messaging tech world.
All right. So you guys heard it there. Make sure you go give him a follow, give him a like, and comment on every video coming. But Mohan, I can't thank you enough for your time today. We really dug into a lot of cool topics and very interesting takes. I really love your personal takes and your personal experiences. I think that is the most beneficial perspective to learn from. And I can't wait to hear more content coming. So I hope we get a chance to talk again. And I'll be sending some questions your way with every new video. I appreciate you, Mohan, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.